And as soon as I see us in the window, I'll close it and mute it and start the recording. It's looking good. Perfect. Mute it. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Mastermind Body and Spirit Show. I'm your host, Matt Belair. Before we dive into today's episode, many of you know we are facing incredible censorship. If you appreciate this show and content, please go over to mattbelair.com and sign up for the email list to stay in touch. Join the membership for exclusive content. Consider becoming a patron. Share the content and consider taking the kindness challenge and doing 3 kind acts a day for a week. Now let's get into tonight's show. Today's guest is on a mission to help empower others through his experiences and knowledge with physical fitness, Pilates, nutrition, and his personal spiritual journey. He is sharing his journey of being a professional skateboarder, father, and friend who has experienced success at an early age, many setbacks, hospitals, institutions, broken limbs, and near-death experiences. Coming full circle to make him the person he is today. Welcome to the show, Brandon Turner.
Yo, what's good? How you doing?
Doing great, man. It's so awesome to have you on the show. I was gonna say to everybody, man, it's like it's cool to know that we're becoming fast friends because as a young skateboarder growing up, I saw you, man. You're such an amazing skater, and I reach out on LinkedIn and I find out you're doing all this amazing stuff. I had no idea, your story, and I got into it. I think it was a Transworld article, and I was like, holy shit, like this guy has gone through a lot. So, to be connected and to hear everything you've gone through, but also where you're directing that and all the amazing stuff you're up to. I'm so honored to have you on the show and to be able to share it with my audience.
Yes, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I think it was a Thrasher article you might have seen.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so you outlined a little bit of what you went through. So for my audience, like just give them a little bit of background on who you are and your story.
Well, I was a professional skateboarder at a young age, amateur, and traveled the world. Was a part of the best team. At the time, Shorty Skateboard, iconic skate team. Started many trends, lots of diversity, traveling the world, video projects, and everything, and from there, I with all that success comes with the lifestyle and traveling and everything, and then partying was a part of it. So we, that ended up after time with everybody, you do too much of it and it consumes you, and with that and being a young dad and stuff and going through that, I started getting myself into trouble, multiple DUIs, gun charges, drug charges, and eventually, I was on probation forever, and eventually it caught up with me, and I ended up doing some real time in prison and stuff, and that's when my life started to turn. But even with everything that I've been through, and then before that, with partying and everything, and everything I've been through was, I was running from the cops and jumped off of a 50-foot bridge, like running from them, and broke my leg. And then a year later after that, I was at a party again and ended up getting ran over by someone in the party, and breaking my other leg and getting put on life support. And even with all that, and then that was like when I was younger, and then I just kept the party going, and fortunately I was able to maintain my career and performing, even being, out of my mind, and it was just part of the lifestyle and everything, and I wasn't really in tune to what I was doing. Even after that, in prison and everything, it was just like starting to hit me that I might have had a problem or something that was inside of me, maybe that I wasn't like integrating, and that's exactly what it was. And that's part of my journey. Just like there's a lot more that's in there, but that's like the lump sum of like the highlights of my downfalls, and in between with all that was just, little jail stints here and there, like couple months, 4 months here, there, I was in and out of jail, and then, eventually went to prison. And then, that started opening up my eyes to not only what was really going on in society, but what was really going on with myself as well.
Holy smokes, man. Well, I knew a little bit about that, but I didn't know all the details. That's super intense. I can't believe you say it was 50 foot bridge?
Yeah, it was a 50-foot bridge. What happened was,
Crazy.
I was already on probation uh, for some other stuff. So I had a curfew, and I was out past curfew partying, and the cops came up, and I ran onto the bridge, and then they were coming up the bridge, and then I was like, okay, they can't make a U-turn on the bridge if I hop over the center divider and run down the other side. But me being intoxicated, I ran across and hopped over the center divider and didn't realize that the bridges were split. So it was yeah, that in that moment in time when that happened, when I hopped over, I remember that's the first time that my life like flashed before my eyes, like everything that they say that everything your whole life. I remember just thinking when I jumped over, like, I just got here, I just got here and it's already over, and then what was really bothering me is like that nobody would know the truth of what really happened. Like, oh, they would think that I just jumped off and killed myself or something. So that bothered me, knowing that it was over with and that nobody would know the truth.
Holy crap, man. Well, what you talk about a few near death experiences. Was there something else that happened? Because I've had them as well. And I'm curious also, was that the turning point where you're like, okay, something's off here. I'm going to kind of switch my focus, or I got to go a little bit deeper to figure out what the hell is going on with my life and what I'm doing.
No, not at all, because I was young, and I was hard headed, and I had the reason why I was so successful in skateboarding is because I felt like that nobody can tell me what not to do. If someone said, "Oh, you can't do that," or "It doesn't work like that," I always wanted to prove someone wrong. So when it came to that realization, I was just focused on healing to get better to skate again. I thought it had nothing to do with what was going on with me internally. So it didn't that never clicked. It never clicked that I had a problem. People have said something, well, maybe you have a problem with like alcohol or something. You have DUIs, stuff, this stuff keeps on happening. I'm like, no. I always had excuses like, oh, it was because of this, or it was because of that. And if this would have happened different, then that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, how old were you at the time there?
17 and 18 years old. And
Got
those
it.
are like the most traumatic events, but all through like my life, it's always been like something, some sort of like drama.
Yeah. And so do you remember when your turning point was? Because now you're helping people with addictions. You're doing a lot of great things now. Like you're back on the skateboard. The skaters, unless you're a skater, you won't know this, but you basically just came back on fire, like switch hard flipping two famous spots. Like they're massive. And I think we're the same age, or you're 36 or 7?
I'm 38.
You're 38. Yeah. So we're pretty close to the same age. And, I was a good skater when I was younger, but definitely not
Yeah.
near the level you were. But even now, if I'm kind of pushing it a little bit, I feel it in the body. So to come back and do things that are literally massive, it's incredibly impressive. And so you're on the other side of like addiction, but also now focusing on helping other people with recovery and doing all kinds of amazing stuff. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I realized that a lot of things I was doing before was to make a point, and it was all for self personal gain, and of course goals, which is good and everything, but it just got to the point to where it consumed me so much that I was self destructing, obviously, and I obviously had deeper issues because that's why I was using alcohol as a symptom to mask it. So I didn't know this. I actually had to, do deep work with myself to realize that I even had a problem, and the alcohol is just a symptom, 30% of it, and the other 70% is, you know, the reason why you do stuff. I mean, from my experience, what I see in other people and stuff. So, I had my realization, like my real spiritual awakening, I think. I mean, I was always in tune spiritually. I felt like, I was always willing to try new things. I always felt something inside of me, some sort of power, and it came through skateboarding, but I just like focused on that, and that's why I was so successful. But there was a time in, about 4 years ago, and where I just like looked in the mirror one time before going out, to party, obviously, or do whatever. And obviously I was like probably intoxicated, and I looked in the mirror, and my cousin overdosed, he thought, he overdosed over, fentanyl, and we were really close and stuff. And it made me realize, I was just like, if I keep on the same reservations with my life, doing the same things, I'm not gonna make it, and this is how I'm gonna go out. And it was a realization that I seen. Like, I felt so good because intoxicated with it. I felt the best I've ever felt, but something was off. I'm like, oh, I can literally die right now, and me being intoxicated or whatever, I'm like, that's all I'll be remembered for if it happens this way. And just like selfishly and, legacy purposes and all the hard work I put in, it wasn't worth it for me. So I just like, I just like asked God, I'm like, hey, let me get through this, one night, and let me and I'm done. And it had to be my decision, to make that choice, you know. And then from there, I've always been recommended to get a sponsor with the 12 steps of AA and stuff. And I'm sure, everyone's familiar with that. But for me, I had too much ego at the time for that. I didn't feel like somebody. I've had mentors, skateboard mentors all through my life and stuff, but as far as like me personally, I felt that I was so unique that nobody has been through what I've been through. And everybody has their own individual story, and everybody's story is different, but I felt that nobody could relate with me with what I've been through and the pain that I've been through and everything, that I've accomplished or not. And just like, it's just a bunch of I. And what I realize now is just like, when you start saying like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing so much, and you got to get out of yourself, So I eventually took the suggestion to get a sponsor. I was going to meetings, and I was looking for someone who was cool enough to sponsor me, and it's and that's how I felt all the time. And I found someone, and someone who really, really, helped me, and he took me through the steps, and not the traditional AA way, but it's called BBA, and it's called Big Book Awareness, and it's AA, but it's more thorough. It's like with transcribing. It's really about integrating yourself and getting to the deep issues of, why you're acting in insanity, doing the same things over and over, expecting a different result. So even when I was doing the steps, and they have the 12 steps for, regular, sober people too. It's just a program. And I've always thought a program was like an institution, like a rehab or whatever. But even if you are in, no matter what setting you're in, the program isn't a place. The program's in your mind, and it's just upgrading it. Like, kind of like you had an old way of thinking. It's kind of like having an old computer. If you have the 2009 MacBook and your program isn't working, you have to upgrade. So I look at my life in that way. Like, we have this amazing connection, and with all of our with all of our, loved ones and friends and all of us in the world, that we constantly have to learn and help each other and constantly upgrade. So through the steps, even when I was doing the steps, I'm like, I'm just going to do this just because everyone keeps telling me to do it. I'm just going to do it to shut them up. But I got to by the time I got to my inventory step, my sponsor was told me that, hey, when you start going through your inventory and and stuff like that, you're going to feel different and stuff. And I'm going to give you some tools that you can go through it. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. But when I started doing this inventory step, really looking at myself and looking at my fears and my resentments and, you know, sex inventory and all this, it really made me look at myself and realize that all the problems in my life mainly were my own fault, because you take yourself out of the equation, it wouldn't exist, you know?
Yeah,
So,
man. Keep going.
no, so with that, and part of the program is with service, you know, it's unity, recovery, and service. And you have, you know, your higher power, God at the top. It's like the triangle of trust, you know, and it's really about, you know, giving that power back through your experiences. And anyone who's in, like, you know, the program of AA or BBA, that's where the real power is like, it's relating to people in life who feel like they don't have no connection, they don't feel like anyone feels their pain. And when it's something like alcohol or drugs and everything, everyone feels the same, you know what I mean? It's like going through the same thing. You're always getting surprised, like, oh, whoa, I thought I only thought that way. I thought I only, you know. And then, so it's community, and it really, it's with helping people, it gives you the power and reminds you of where you're at. So, and you get to help people through your experience. So that's like my foundation.
Wow. Well, man, I really appreciate you sharing all that. You know, for me, my mom struggled with alcohol, my aunt as well, and they will talk about it. And you know, there's definitely other family members that struggle with that coming up from Newfoundland, Canada. You know, it's like it was a different life back then. Some of the stories my mom has are insane, and we probably wouldn't even be here if she didn't sober up and figure things out. But one of the things she told me was like she had to come to the realization that she had to stop this. Like nobody could do it for her. And then moving into AA, it's like a support system. And I'm just curious, from your perspective, the importance of the community aspect of that in the program of just like say, okay, I'm going to go do this. This is a program that's set up. And also the distinction between BBA. Can you talk about that a little?
Yeah, it's a big book awareness. It's just a more thorough approach to the AA steps. Like for someone who's hard headed like me and doesn't want to listen to anybody, and I got to smack my head like 100 times before I even start to think any way different, you know. So it's like that. It was really good for me because it was a lot of work. It was it's like transcribing the 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 big book, you know, of AA, and it's relating the stories and stuff to yourself. So instead of like um they, you know, instead of they do this, you know, it's like, do I do this? Does this relate to me? Does How do I feel when this happens? You know, like it's really, it's coding. You know what I mean? It's that's what I broke it down to what it is. I'm like, oh, because it seems so tedious to cross out words and make it pertain to yourself, but what it's really doing is it's coding your brain so you can remember. And just like we're talking now, I didn't ever think I would have, you know, be able to speak on the knowledge of whatever I'm doing, you know, just because I'm like, I'm not a speaker, I don't do that or whatever. But it was literally coding because I found myself like giving like talks and stuff and everything. And it's like you have the power to actually pull, you know, the ether into yourself. And with true faith and love and support, it automatically comes to you, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, man. I absolutely agree. It's 100% coding, you know, like our minds are literally the software and we can use our consciousness to upgrade it. And that's why I think we have free will here because we don't always get to choose what happens, right? It's like when you were, and actually tell me if you think this is accurate. This is one of my theories, but like when you're
Mhm.
younger and you're going about your life, it was a little bit like on the unconscious path where you're like you're just doing things and kind of reacting and now on this path it's like you're a little bit more cognizant and deliberate. You're like, oh, you know, like I can control my feelings a little bit. I can control my future a little bit. Like I can influence my reality. But on the other side, is it a little bit more random where like you're hard headed, but it's not as direct in energy?
Yeah, exactly. You know, when you're younger, you're just kind of, I feel like for me, some people are more tuned than anything. It was just all ego based. I'm like, I'm this way and I'm going to stick to it. These are my beliefs. This is how it is. And it was really a lot of work to have an open mind to different beliefs and different concepts. And I really had to, like, you know, sit down and study and just start reading and stuff, because I wasn't reading a lot and everything every once in a while. But now, you know, that's part of my practice, and part of my, you know, mission is to learn as much as I can, so I can actually have some data or some experience, even if I don't have it personally, so I can share with someone like, hey, you know, well, you can think of it this way or that way, or, you know, everything's perception. Things don't necessarily happen to you, they happen for you. You know, everything, you know, nothing is a coincidence. It's like looking at the learning experience and everything that happens to you. Like, instead of looking at something in a negative way, like there's always a lesson in everything. Like, what could you learn from this, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And how you've transitioned from this, I think, is amazing. I'd love for you to talk about the healthy life recovery and what you're doing there. And you also have a clothing company called GIF, which I think is amazing. And that's one of my things with skateboarding and snowboarding. I
Mhm.
remember going through it, and it was always, this such a hardcore element to it. And I think when you're young, that's good. You know what I mean? This is like, well, that's good. It's exciting. It's like the alcohol and the parties and all this different things. And I always kind of thought of snowboarding and skateboarding like a sport, because I had a martial arts background. And in martial
Yeah.
arts, there's a little bit of there's mastery to it. There's power in it, right? And there's discipline and these masters that can do this amazing things. And I feel like, I love getting in the arguments with my friends and saying, what's the most difficult sport in the world? And every time when I think about it, I'm like, I can't think of anything that takes more skill than skateboarding.
Mhm.
When you take in the skill side, the mental side, and what all the elements of what's happening, it's the most skilled I feel in the world. Oh, did I lose you? Okay, good. I thought
No,
I
there
lost
we
you.
go.
So, um, so when I look at it from like that standpoint, I always find it incredibly impressive, and even more so that the culture of it, they're not training in the same way you would in martial arts, right? It's got a little bit of a culture to it. So I'd love for you to speak a little bit about your transition, the healthy life recovery, and what you're doing there, and like how you're aiming your efforts now, because I think they're all really inspiring.
Well, thank you. With Healthy Life Recovery, I partnered with them and started a skateboard program, because I just feel like skateboarding is therapy to me, and I felt like it can be helpful for any individual who's interested and has an open mind to try it. You know, it's freedom. It integrates the whole body and mind. It makes you focus. And I agree with you. I mean, I played sports and done everything, and I just don't think it's an argument that I know skateboarding is the hardest thing in the world. You know what I mean? Because it's infinite. There's nothing. There's not. There's not a trick that, till the end of the time, you'll never be able to do every single trick, and no one will ever be able to. You know, and the progression is limitless. Like, you can't do it. And, you know, other people can go pick up and shoot a basketball or anything, but, or throw a football or hit tennis or whatever, you know, even as an amateur or a beginner. But skateboard, you can't put someone who's never rode a skateboard in and do even a basic trick, you know. So it's really it's really crazy with that. So I wanted to give uh people through, like, so me being a professional skateboarder, I wanted to be able to connect with people who were struggling with addiction and mental issues, and give them and show them my lifestyle with how I live, not just the skateboarding aspect, but, you know, picking them up in the van, you know, getting a little daily check-in, having that community, going out to eat, going to the skate park, bumping some music, you know, encouragement, hyping each other up to progress. And and just everything that goes along with skateboarding than the actual act of skateboarding. It goes in so much more. It's community, it's love, it's trust. Because when you're out there skating with someone and you fall and you hurt yourself, and then you have the people you're skating with there to take care of you, that's powerful, you know? And even if it is in kind of a, you know, a weird loving way, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you fall really hard and your friend's like, all right, you okay? And then you're like, you kind of get mad, like, yeah, I'm okay. Like, what do you mean am I okay? You know, you get mad because you're actually hurt, and be like, dude, did you just see me fall? You really need to ask if I'm okay? Like, I fell on a hand roll down some stairs. I'm definitely not okay, you know? So, so it's just like it's the whole community, and it's just like you know, a lot of people in my program, you know, women and men say, you know, I never thought I would be able to skateboard and stuff, and we got amazing program. I take them out like 2 times a week. You know, we go out to eat different place. I'm vegetarian. I show them my lifestyle of like what I eat, how I eat, and leave the option open for them too. And got a amazing support system from the skateboard community. You know, like this is like, you're gonna get the treatment I get. You're gonna get free clothes. You're gonna get, you know, I got boards set up for you. You know, you got transportation. Everything's taken care of for you. You know, so you can get the full experience of like how I live. You know, and then people are progressing super fast. People who never stepped on a skateboard ever are progressing even faster than I was when I was younger, you know? So it's amazing to see.
That's amazing. You know, I love it, and I can obviously relate because I love skateboarding so much. And one of my favorite things about the skateboard culture is the community. Wherever I go, anywhere in the world, if someone's on a skateboard, you automatically have this synergy and like respect, because you know, at the base level, you know how darn hard it is, you know what I mean, and you know that they know a thing or two about perseverance and how it feels, and the culture is always so supportive, and you have all these different styles. You know, if you go to the Vancouver skate park, I'd be like, in my mind is judging this style of the guy like wearing funny pants, and you know, how is he I don't know, I never understood how people skate in Converse shoes. I don't know how they flip the board, you know, but you have all of these different styles, but like a mutual respect in the way that they take skateboard into their own art form is always wonderful. It's so unique how you can do that. But again, the favorite thing is the community. You'll have you there doing the hardest tricks because you're a pro skater and you're good at it, and that's, you know, how you were blessed, and everyone is always excited to watch that. And then at the same time, I remember, you know, it was a pretty similar example. It was a go skate day, and there was this just kid, and he was just trying to ollie the smallest thing, you know, and he was trying all day and he got it. The park loses its mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we've got the pros over here doing the hardest trick, but you can see that little support, and he was just so happy. And like, that's how I see the community, you know, and I think it's such a powerful thing. Like you said, it's yeah, just that alone, you know, I think is super empowering for people. A lot of people don't have that kind of support in their life, you know?
No, absolutely. And then with skateboarding, it goes hand in hand with creativity, art, music. I mean, just like what you're saying, like the company I skate for, Skate Mafia, we started Skate Mafia because if you skate, you're part of Skate Mafia, because literally I can go anywhere in the world, any state, any country, and I will have somebody there, you know, who skates, who I can call up and go stay at their house or show me skate spots, or we never met before, but we're already have that connection with skateboarding, that trust. Like it's a unspoken bond, and you know, skateboarders have like certain rules and stuff, and you know, like that's just a part of it. And with the creativity, it's just like, you know, people different styles, you know, how they dress, and people's bodies are different, so they skate different. And just no matter how big or how small, if I'm doing the hardest trick, trying the hardest trick, and I land it, everyone goes crazy. But like you said, there can be, you know, one of my people in my program learning how to ollie down a 2 stair, and it's the smallest thing, but they're there trying just as hard all day, and when they land it, everyone just goes just as crazy. So there really is no scale as far as like the compatibility and the love and the support that people feel. And I believe that no matter what anyone's interested in, that everyone deserves to feel that.
Yeah, I agree. And Jordan Peterson, I haven't read this yet. I need to read it. I think I read like an excerpt of it a while ago. But his 12 rules for life. One of them is don't bug kids while they're skateboarding, and it's really
Mhm.
cool. Even when you watch a kid skate, and you can relate, obviously, and I can relate to like just the determination and the will and how hard it is to do something so simple and how much determination it takes just to land a
Yeah.
kickflip, just to land a kickflip. And that skill, I think, translates to everything else. And we spoke a little bit about this before on the phone, but taking Zen athlete, what I wanted to do learning martial arts, I didn't understand how people weren't doing that in snowboarding. I couldn't understand how they were so good and they didn't visualize their tricks. I'd be in Whistler and, I'd see the biggest snowboard jumps I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, how do you do that? He's like, oh, I just go up and do it. I'm like, you're telling me that you just go, 40 miles an hour at this jump and you jump in the air, do like 8 spins upside down. You don't think about it. I was like, that's insane. Like, what if you took in physical training and mental training and then applied that with determination? You're going to be so much better. But the nice thing is you can take this out into the world and apply it for anything. But I think one of the core elements of skateboarding and what you alluded to before is like the ego element of, if we can take these skill sets and what builds us up and makes us whole and complete and like powerful, as like, wow, I could do that in a positive way. What can I
Mhm.
build in the world? And then how can I share that with others? Because it's an amazing feeling, that's why you want them to land the 2-stair, you want them to be able to get to that next trick because the feeling. And I feel like when we get out of this, it's like, it's the competition, maybe when you're young, if like they're better than me, then I'm not going to get this. But when you get a little bit older and say, no, there's more than enough for everybody. And we want to be celebrating each other and encouraging them and encouraging their unique gifts to the world, however they want to express that in business or in life or in entrepreneurship. If we can be that supportive and teach them to connect to their like empowerment and know that they're supported in community, they can go do it in the whole, go do that and express it in the world in a way that you're like, wow, that's really interesting. We're all for it. Like, you got it.
Yeah, it's the best ever, just having support in general. Everyone knows that, and I believe everyone should find out what they love and find a community within that, and however that works for them, it's good. But hey, if anyone ever feels like they can't connect with anyone, grab a skateboard, and I guarantee we'll accept you with open arms.
Yeah, 100%. And on a side note, I thought when I surfed that the community was going to be great. Turns out
Negative.
surfers are the worst. Like, sorry, surfers, but like I was going and I was like, oh my god, it's like the least supportive community. It's because they're in this finite world of waves. You know what I mean? Where skateboarding, I guess you got more space. But I was like, just the worst. It was so hard. Like each time my beginning ones, it was at least there are some amazing people out there that definitely were helpful and went above and beyond, you know what I mean? The great ones, but there was
Yeah.
also a lot of butt heads. So just like a side note, you would actually, what do you think? You're from San Diego. Is that true or not?
Yeah, it's territorial. If you're not a
Super.
local and stuff, you got to pay certain respects. You got to wait. You got to just wait. You got to ask permission. You got to, you can't be taking people's waves. They're not having it because
Yeah.
it's not consistent. So,
Yeah, it's great. I didn't know, man. I went in thinking it was going to be the skateboard community, and it definitely wasn't. Talk a little bit about your company, Gift, your clothing company.
Yeah.
When did you start doing that, and what's your hope for that? And I love the intention. That's what I want to see more in the skateboarding and the snowboard community. Just the mindset around what the brand is and what they're putting out there.
Yeah, gift, is about, giving back. And me and my teammate who's on shorties with me, another prodigy, Sammy Baptista, he was, amazing young skater too, just super young, came up super young. We've been teammates, all our lives, and from like shorties, and we've always stayed connected through injuries, supported each other through the up and down, the ups and downs in life and stuff. And we've always been a part of these brands and stuff, and started brands, blew up companies, made people a lot of money, did all that. But we decided we wanted to, show our creative side and do something, a company, for us, a clothing company that we can put our creative imagination and hard work into, and present it to the world of the people who support us and who like to just wear fly gear. So this is this is like from our fall line. It's just a camo piece, and simple stuff and other stuff inspired, because I grew up in Japan. My dad was in the military, so I just came out with like a collection that's like Japanese inspired and stuff. So, and it's called the Kitana collection. So we got these swishies with the with the ninja blood down the side, and then it's just Japanese inspired. So it's just like I had to do something with that. And then we got the gift in Japanese, and I collaborated with an artist who from Houston named Bao, that he came up with a graphic for it. So it's just like with skateboarding, like, I mean, with skateboarding, whether people there, it's just a connection with everything, not just like with the community. I mean, just in life, because right now you can tell me, hey, I need a plumber, or I need my car fixed, or I need a realtor. Guess what? I know a skater who's one of those, so I got you, you're hooked up, and so it's just so cool being able to collaborate with artists and different people, walks of life, and collaborate ideas. And I just think that's what it's about. So I think it's a long time coming, and I'm excited we're doing it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And I really hope it does well, and I'll definitely support it as much as I can. I wanted you to, you touched on a little bit, how did Japan influence your life? Because I had shoot, I'm blanking on his name right now, but Nick Velasquez, he was on, and he's been spending he wrote a book, actually I should send you as well, on sports psychology and sport mastery. That's really good. He sent it to me, and I was curious. He's been going to Japan 6 months out of the year for like a number of years, and absolutely loves it. So how did that and does that influence your life? What is it like there? What's the deal?
Everything, I had some troubles with childhood. My dad was in the military, so he's like, we're moving to Japan. And then at that time, there was no internet. So when I went over to Japan, you were there and you were stuck, and that's it. You weren't in communication with anyone. We literally had to get VHS tapes from the news over in America to find out what the news was, and get it like taped weekly and sent to us. Like, it was that insane. There was nothing like, I got there and I was confused. I thought I was in China, kept saying China. They're like, you're in Japan. I had super bad anxiety. Nobody spoke English. But eventually, I found a skateboard and stuff, and met my brother Tominari Hongo, who like unofficially I got adopted by a Japanese family. He was a skater. He was older than me, and he's the one who taught me how to kickflip. And he taught me the Japanese culture, and it's just like about honor and respect and like love, and everything in Japan is done so much differently. It was a culture shock for me, because I totally had to like let go of like who I thought I was, and to learn the language and just like reboot myself into a whole new lifestyle, So that was like my childhood spiritual experience, most definitely, and the most difficult. Like, I had anxiety. They're calling me a hypochondriac.
Wow. And yeah, I've heard a lot of amazing things about Japan. One of them for me is wanting to go snowboarding out there, because they're supposed to have the best POW in the world, and apparently they don't go in the trees. So being Canadian and from North America, the trees is where it's at. So lots of powder for me. But one of the things I've heard is they do everything to like perfection. They take honor in everything they do. There's such a pride in everything that they do. So as an adult, are you going over there now and taking influence from
Yeah.
the country?
No, yeah, so who taught me how to skate, Tom, he has 2 kids now who I mentor in the skateboarding community who are really good. So what he did for me, I do that for them now. They came here, super good skaters, and I got them both hooked up with DC shoes, and one of them on my team, Skate Mafia, and all that. But with Japanese culture, yeah, you talk about mindfulness, like everything they do is like with gentle precision. That nobody's late, everybody's on time, everybody's super respectful. It's a small thing, like, I mean, they don't, there's no shoes in the house, everything's really super clean, everything is gentle, and like, it's insane. It's the honor system.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember seeing this video clip of somebody driving in Japan, and I guess when they let him over, they throw in the four ways as a thank you. And then someone was like, "Can you imagine if everybody in the U.S. drove this politely, how everything would change?"
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's wonderful. And I believe there's a I don't know if it's Okinawa or where it is, but I think they're called blue zones. Have you ever heard of that? Where the people have the highest quality of living and they live to the oldest age. So I think they're called blue zones, and there's one of them in Japan. So get just the best, healthiest people in the world, and so that they have one of them over there. Do you know that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just I mean, just here's a prime example of like when I used to drink, and I'd go party. I love Japan because I would be like drinking there, and it's so crazy. Everybody it's orders food together, communal, everyone shares and everything. And then I noticed, when I'm drinking a beer, I drink like a quarter of my glass down, and I look away and turn back around, and my drink is full again every time, no matter what. So
They're
it's just
enabling.
like that. They're not letting you like have like an empty glass ever.
Yeah. Wow.
That's just like an example of the little things that people do to make you feel special and appreciated and wanted and loved. So it's Japan's amazing. That's one of my favorite places in the world, and that's my second home. So
That's awesome. Yeah, it'd be great if we can adopt some of that around the world. So
yeah,
the one thing I wanted, go ahead.
no, I think we're starting to get there. And right now I can't go over there, which is kind of a bummer. But hopefully when things open back up, they'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. The one thing I wanted to talk a little bit about before we end it is the mental game. We were talking a little bit about you hard flipping Wallenberg, and that's like a famous switch hard flipping, which is the
Yeah.
wrong way, doing an incredibly hard trick. It's called the hard flip for a reason, which actually, I was known for because I could land them well, but never over stuff like that. So the fact that you're doing it switch is ridiculous. I don't even know how to communicate in words to somebody who doesn't skate how frigging hard that is. But you come back and like you were telling me the story of battling that. And one of my favorite new series is I think Thrasher's doing it, The War. Is that what I call it?
Oh,
Or My War?
my war. Yeah.
Yeah. And even if you're not a skater, you should just look at that and what people go through. And that's that grit that people develop. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what skill you're at. Like you could be doing something incredibly challenging, but there's very few skaters out there that can go out there and land it first try or second try. You look at what they're doing and you're like, they make it look so easy. And then you're like, whoa, that guy tried for like weeks to get that trick. It's unbelievable. Or what they did to prepare. And I think it was Andrew Reynolds. Yeah, it was Andrew Reynolds who there was a little short on him when he come back and he did an incredible part, and how he would just do the same trick over and over and over again to prepare to do it over something big, and how he would just prepare for managing that. Because when you see it landed perfectly, it looks so easy, right? But it's
Yeah,
the most insane thing to get to that level and to execute, when the time is coming.
Yeah, most people look at skateboarding and they think it's just all filmed and done, but it takes multiple tries most of the time. I mean, sometimes I do stuff first try and then that's a blessing, but with Wallenberg, there's so many dynamics that go into it. It's insane. The first time I went there in 2016, you have to literally build a roll up ramp to it. So you have to go get a U-Haul, go to Thrasher, get a ramp, put it in the U-Haul, then you have to drive it to the school, open the gate, put the ramp together, and then try it. But you have to do this at like 7:38 in the morning because it gets too windy in San Francisco. So you have to do that. And the first time I went there, I wasn't getting enough speed because I didn't grab the extra wood to roll in from the roof. So that didn't go down. Then more recently, a few months ago, I went and I flew out there, same thing, and I forgot my board. So I had to go set up a brand new board I wasn't used to. It didn't happen. I had the speed set up, the rolling, all that. And then this last time I made sure all the elements were right. So, but every time I had to try that. And this last time my foot was hurt. So I was really hesitant of going to try it because it's like jumping off a building. And when my foot's already hurt, I knew I couldn't endure like mini jumps. So I had to make sure it took multiple times, and then I finally put it down. So it's the stuff that goes into skateboarding with tricks is like lots of preparation. So before I went there to do this, I meditated every night and visualized myself doing it over and over and over again in my mind. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to do in my mind because I wasn't landing it. Like something was going wrong, and I'm like, wait a minute, I rewind, I'd keep trying it in my mind. And then finally the night when I was in San Francisco, the night before I went and tried it, I forced myself like, oh, just roll away, and then it happened like that. So I actually saw it in my mind before I did it.
That's awesome, man. And one of the things from skating and extreme sports is it takes like reality creation to the immediate moment, right? Because you're going there. And so what can you do to prepare to land that? Because if it doesn't go correctly or how you want, you can end up getting injured, much worse. And the other element too is understanding all the other people that you're kind of like letting down. You get the photographer, you get the camera guy, you get all that kind of stuff. So there's this bit of pressure, right? To be like, gotta land this. And you're like, I want to land this. Like, of course I want to land it.
So I had 8 teammates leave San Diego. Are you there?
There we go. Yeah.
No, so I had 8 teammates like drive in a van to meet up there to drive 7 hours or whatever. I flew out there, and then, the photographers and filmers and everyone's meeting me up to do this. It's a lot of pressure, not to mention being right in your mind to like do all this,
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's really impressive, man. And so what I'm curious about is, what are you looking forward to now? I know you're doing a lot with recovery. You got a lot going on. You're starting to get back on the board. I don't know what your plan is with that. Are you planning to kind of skate for fun with a mixture of pushing it a bit? Like, what's your desire there are you coming back full steam and be like, yeah, like Daewon Song? The nice thing about this is the problem. You picked the wrong style because he's nice and low to the ground. He can 360 flip and manual up and down. There's no, jumping off buildings for him. It's all nice and tech and little tiny falls where you're, still pushing the massive stuff. So the consequences are a little bit higher.
Yeah. Well, me, that's what I do. And the thing of it is like a lot of people think that, coming back from skating. But the thing of it is I've always just been skating and doing my own thing. And I've always done it for me. So with what I'm doing with recovery and just where my mind's at now, I can actually have the discipline to plan stuff and put together the support system I need to go execute these things I want to do. Before, it was just like, I was late, or I would like let time go or whatever. But to me, this is like stuff I want to handle in life. So it's like, as far as skateboarding, I'm going to keep doing the same thing I'm doing, and I feel great. I feel better than I was when I was 18. I'm better than I was when I was 18. So it's just like, I'm blessed to be able to feel like this. But as far as like jumping off of like high stuff and all that doesn't affect me. I have the strength, I have the mental power, and I have the support and the mind control for it. So that's what it's all about. And what I want to say is like these lies that I was told. I can't speak for everybody about like, hey, when you get to a certain age, you can do this or you can't do that. And I just believe that's a bunch of lies. And I think it's all within it's all within you, and whatever you can put your mind to, even though how cliche it sounds, it's really the truth. And it's not just about putting your mind to it as in like, oh, I think I can do this. You actually have to put in the hard work and mental power and preparation for whatever that takes what you want to do. If you want to be this or be that, you have to study, you have to put time aside to, even though, oh, some people be like, oh, well, I got a job and I got kids and I got this, and be like, hey, well, you're no good to anybody without yourself. So you have to spend time with yourself doing and following your dreams, and whatever that may be. Like, you have to put that time aside, you have to put that discipline, because nobody's going to do it for you. So when people are saying like, oh, I'm too old and stuff to do that, that's a negative affirmation you're giving yourself. So I've learned to, no matter what I want to do, I don't listen to anything negative that I've ever heard. I create my own experience, because I believe that's what we're here for. And I know that everybody feels in their soul that they're here for a purpose. So I think that you should always work towards and fulfilling that.
That's amazing, man. I agree 100%. And I always thought from a young age, I'm like, 40, 50, I'm like, I'm just going to get stronger and in better shape because I'm going to have more time and money to train. I think Randy Couture was 48 years old when he came back, won the heavyweight championship of the UFC. I just did a great interview with Kathy Ross Sharp, and she said, watch this Diana Nyad TED Talk. And this is a woman, she was 60 years old and swam, I think it's the English Channel or something, and it had never been done by a man or a woman. And I can't remember which
Wow.
channel it was. So she was 60 and when she did it. So I just watched her TED Talk today, and it was extraordinary. And it's about this perseverance. So it's interesting that like it's what people believe. Like one of the main ones for me was when we were finishing school, all of my friends were going to go to university. Not one was thinking about travel or exploring. And I always thought to myself, 40 hours a week with 2 days off a week, that's insane. Like who would sign up for that? That's totally insane. I got to be able to create something else. And it's funny, like as an entrepreneur, you can relate to this. It's like it's kind of on all day every day, but at least it's something that you want to put out. Like you're happy to be there, and maybe it can be very challenging at times with all that effort you got to put in, but I would prefer that to kind of show up for a paycheck of something I wasn't inspired to do. So that was like just a norm that everybody bought into. And they also buy into this, oh, I'm 35 now, I can't run, I'm this. I was like, are you crazy? Like, I feel like when I'm going to be 50, I'm going to be a better athlete than I am now, because I'm going to have more time. And so as things flow, I'm hoping like this year I'm going to be able to, or it'll have to be next year now to get back on my board. But now that I'm smarter, I know how to train more, I'm probably going to be a better snowboarder then if I apply myself than when I was in my 20s, when I was pissing around, partying, you know what I mean, not taking it seriously, but just
Absolutely.
understanding to take care of the body. Yeah. And what you believe moving forward, it's like people believe that, but it's not necessarily true. There's a lot of people that have phenomenal physique and shape and flexibility and physical attributes into their old age, but it's more important your lifestyle of what you're choosing at that time. You know what I mean? Are you creating these things deliberately, right? You're moving into, nutrition and Pilates and all these different things that can make you a better skateboarder, but just keep you healthy so you can do all these things. And I feel like it's going to be an amazing example moving forward when like you keep crushing it. Like that's one of the things you were blessed with, is that skill. So I think it's going to be amazing for people to watch, to be like just shattering the paradigm of like, I'm not even relating to that. I'm tuning into my body and what I can do. And this is what I can do because I know that, you know what I mean? I'm keeping it in shape, and you can analyze it a little bit more. And so I think it's going to be an amazing thing to watch, man. I'm excited to watch the progression. I also wanted to ask,
Thank
like,
you.
what, yeah, go ahead.
No, I said thank you.
Oh yeah. So I also wanted to ask, what kind of message would you give to the people, I was going to say the skateboard community and the young skaters, the young kids, but I'd just say people in general, because you're a person that's gone through a lot. And I feel like skateboarding teaches so much. I feel like if people could understand like the requirements of the tenacity of what it takes to be good at skateboarding, and they apply it to anything, they're going to be successful, right? That's one of the things of skating. You're just determined. You literally don't give up. You don't land a kick flip or a hard flip or a 360 flip until you just give up. You just keep trying so many times. And so if we can kind of connect to something that we're inspired to do, and we just don't give up, we're going to be able to push the needle and create that. So I'm just curious, what kind of message, after everything you've been through, would you kind of offer to either the skateboard community or people at large?
Well, my message would be to, for one, movement is medicine, so this day and age that we live, with all the technology and everything, and that's all good and everything, but, our bodies were meant for a purpose. We're meant to move our limbs and sweat and exercise and use our whole dynamic of our our physical presence, and just I would say, anything you want to do in life, work at it, don't listen to anyone. If something you want to do that you love, research it. You have, there's limitless, stuff you can look up and just work on it. I would recommend always getting a mentor, get someone that's better at something you want to do, and learn from them. Believe in yourself, love yourself, work on yourself, definitely meditate, even if people don't recognize or know what that is. And that's being a human being we're meant to be, and I feel like you can really connect with yourself and really answer your own questions with that practice. And be kind and loving, and don't be negative. It's easy to say, be positive, be positive and stuff, and or manifest, but no, it really takes real work, and read books and exercise, take care of yourself, pay attention to what you put in your mind and your body, and surround yourself with people who want to see you win and stuff. And that's what I got to say about that. Like, I can go on and on, but main thing is love yourself, have a support system, find something you want to do that you love, and you'll never work a day in your life.
I completely agree, man. And I love all that. This has been a pleasure, man. I'm so glad we connected. It was kind of cool just to, see
So
see the
cool,
article,
man.
reach out, and then you reach out, and I was like, yeah, we're right on the same page. I'm like, yes, this is so good. So
I know, it's amazing.
yeah, man,
Like
it's
the
too
way
bad. Go
like the
ahead.
first time me and you talked, man, like we were just right on the same page, right into it. Like we've been hanging out for years, and we're just right picking up where we left off.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And I think it's just, a testament to, your heart and your intention. And that's what if I'm coaching or podcasting, whatever, I'm just like, put your entire being into something that you enjoy. And if you're lucky enough to find that thing, like your big thing that you kind of talked about is like, it was all about you. And, when you were younger, you're just a kid. Right. And you would get ego from being one of the best skaters and all this stuff happening, that's kind of what would happen. You wouldn't have the maturity to kind of handle that at that time. Right. But as we get into adulthood, we really need to transition that. Right. We need to, when you went through, take that inventory. Who am I? What am I about? What are my values? And now let me take who I am in that essence and direct it somewhere that it's going to help other people. Because, the better you get and the more you grow on any of your businesses, that's going to help other people, whether it's like that little bit of intention from gift and what you're putting out with that clothing company. The better you get at skateboarding, the more your recovery center kind of helps, and you bring people there and you transform that life. It's all a ripple out, and you are growing and you're mastering yourself. And so it is kind of selfish in a way. You're taking self-care and you're expressing, but then everybody watching is like, holy crap, we haven't seen him and he's doing these insane things. And then that's the message that goes along with it. Right. And it's incredibly inspiring. So just so
Appreciate
glad to be connected, man.
Yeah, me too, man. And anybody watching this and struggling, with substance abuse issues or what have you, that can reach out to me directly, and and that's what I feel like my purpose is and stuff. One of them. So I really appreciate you having me, and it's awesome. I love your platform, and this has been cool.
Amazing, man. Yeah, me too. And where can people, if they want to find you directly, where's the best place they should go?
Your microphone kind of dropped out, but yeah, you can just reach me at Brandon@healthyliferecovery.com.
Perfect. Awesome, man. Well, I'm looking forward to the time we can skate or snowboard together, man. It's going to be fun. So thanks so much for coming on the show and your work. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, man. I'm looking forward to that book, dude. Let's catch up soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay.
All right,
See ya.
man. Peace.
Peace, guys.